Hello there.
What if Obi Wan survived Episode 4? Obi Wan was in the Death Star. He was fighting Vader. Obi Wan was older, and Vader was very powerful. Obi Wan knew he would not win this fight. He had two options. Luke had just appeared. They were about to board the Millennium Falcon. He could use all the strength he had, and he could use force speed and run, but that would be very exhausting, and it would take a while to gain his energy. Or he could accept his fate and become a Force ghost. He decided he still had purpose. He needed to train Luke Skywalker, or else the sacrifices during Order 66 would have meant nothing. So he gathered up all his energy and said goodbye, Darth, and then used force speed and caught up to Luke. And then he told Luke to run, and they got on the Millennium Falcon. Vader was catching up. He was using the force on the ship. He was pulling it towards him. And then Han Solo did a reckless thing. He went to light speed to any system. He didn't know what system he was doing it to. He just pulled light speed. He wanted to survive. And Vader would be furious. He would destroy all the stormtroopers in that area. And then he would go on his own personal quest and ignore Darth Sidious. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan, Princess Leia, 3PO, R2-D2, Luke, Han Solo, and Chewbacca were all on Tatooine. Surprising. Obi-Wan was shocked to be back, and Han Solo didn't have the money at the moment. They couldn't stay here, so they left again. And first they had to go to Yavin 4. The tracker was aboard the Millennium Falcon, and Obi-Wan sensed this. He was very weak, and he needed medical attention. And with the little strength he had, he told Han Solo that they couldn't go to Yavin 4 because he sensed the tracker aboard the Millennium Falcon, and he sensed Vader. So the plan was to go to a planet, take off the tracker, and then leave immediately. They went to Kashyyyk because there were barely any Wookiees there, and this would throw Vader off. Chewbacca would throw it somewhere to buy them time, and then they would go to Yavin 4. Soon, they landed on Kashyyyk, and Chewbacca went and to put it in a tree, and then they left. And Vader was still very surprised. They landed on Kashyyyk. He went there, not realizing that they just left. And as soon as they reached Yavin 4, Princess Leia called for anyone to help Obi-Wan. Soon people came, and they put him in a bacta tank. Obi-Wan was feeling a lot better, and he knew he made the right decision. Obi-Wan thought it would be perfect to tell Luke and Leia that they were brother and sister. But he realized that Luke might be too attached. So he wanted to wait just a little longer, just after they defeated Vader and the Emperor. First, Obi-Wan would summon Leia. They hadn't seen each other in 9 years, and Leia hugged him and said thank you. And they had quite a long conversation. And then Obi-Wan asked Leia to summon Luke, and Leia obliged. Obi-Wan had a death stick. He had two, actually. So he gave one to Luke, one to him, and they discussed, and Luke asked what was next for his training, Obi-Wan smiled, and he couldn't talk because he had the death stick in his mouth. So he took it out, and he said, "We must go to Dagobah. Yoda has tons of death sticks, and he can also train you in the ways of the Force." Obi-Wan said that they would need to bring R2-D2. And soon, after Obi-Wan fully recovered, they left for Dagobah. Oh, and Han Solo and Chewbacca got paid and left. When they reached Dagobah, Luke was surprised. He didn't realize someone this short could be a Jedi Master. And Obi-Wan said, "Hello, my old friend. Give me a death stick." And Yoda smiled and obliged and gave Obi-Wan and Luke a death stick and treated himself to one. Yoda was old, so he didn't really have death sticks that often. He had it on special occasions. This was one. Obi-Wan and Yoda talked for a while. They were excited to see each other, and Luke was just listening. And Obi-Wan told him they had to train Luke, and Yoda was afraid. He thought that he would fail Luke, as he had failed the entire Jedi Order. Obi-Wan said that you have to learn from your mistakes, and that he learned that from a friend a long time ago. And she died. The person that taught Obi-Wan that was Tala. Yeah, she died in Kenobi. Soon, Luke's training began. Obi-Wan taught him lightsaber combat, patience. Yoda taught him meditation and how to feel the Force flow through him, and taught Luke to embrace it. Luke became a master of Form 5. He specialized in it, but he also used Form 3, Obi-Wan's form. And Yoda was still afraid because of Luke's form. But Luke was extremely powerful with the Force, and Yoda was proud of his student. He didn't think that Luke could change. They spent many years on Dagobah. Yoda was growing older, weaker, sicker. I don't know if sicker is a word. More sick. And Luke was growing more powerful. Obi-Wan was also old, but he had a purpose. He could not give up on Luke yet. After many years, Luke was powerful enough. They found he was ready. He had a purple lightsaber, symbolizing the light and dark side within him. And Yoda passed away, letting go. Obi-Wan and Luke were sad. Obi-Wan was not that sad because he would teach Luke how to communicate with the dead. So they always had Yoda. And they set off to the Death Star. Yavin 4 was destroyed. And Vader was still looking for Obi-Wan, furious that he got tricked by a stupid tracker that was in a tree. And when they boarded the Death Star, several troopers came at them, but Luke quickly took their guns, and then force pushed them. He was extremely powerful. And Vader and Sidious were on the Death Star at that time, and Sidious smiled, and he sensed that this was a Skywalker, and told Vader. But Luke did not know. Obi-Wan was going to tell him right now. But he didn't want him to give up. He knew Luke would still do what was right. So he told him, "Oh, Vader is your father." Luke was angry, but he wanted to change his father, like in Episode 6. And Obi-Wan was still contemplating if that was the right thing to do. Obi-Wan was waiting for Luke's response, his questions Luke was about to give him. But suddenly, more stormtroopers came, and Obi-Wan wanted Luke to test his lightsaber skills. So Luke pulled out his purple lightsaber and was deflecting each blaster bolt with ease. and he took down all the stormtroopers by throwing his lightsaber and slicing through all of them. And soon they head for the next level. Sidious's guards came. Luke took them down with ease, and Obi-Wan took a few down too. They were heading for Sidious and Vader. And Vader didn't want to kill his son. He wanted to turn his son like Sidious, but wanted to kill Kenobi. When they reached, Sidious smiled and said, "Welcome, my friends," and then shot Force Lightning at Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan deflected it just in time. He realized how old he had become. He was not as fast. He knew that he would die in this battle. Sidious smiled, saying, "I underestimated you, Kenobi, but you are not the same as you once were." And then he told Vader to kill Kenobi. And Vader obliged happily. And with Obi-Wan distracted, Sidious talked to Luke and was trying to convince him. Nothing worked. He said, "Vader is your father." And then, but Luke already knew. He's like, "I already know." And then he force pushed Sidious. And Sidious was furious. He thought, "This boy won't turn. Obi-Wan trained him well. I will show him the true nature of the dark side." And then he shot lightning, but Luke deflected it. Same way as Yoda could deflect it. And Sidious was shocked. He knew that this would not be an easy battle. They pulled out their lightsabers. Sidious was a master of all 7 forms, while Luke was only a master of 2 forms. And Sidious had the upper hand in lightsaber dueling, but Luke force pushed him. That's when Sidious pulled out his second lightsaber, and Luke was shocked. Obi-Wan saw that Luke was struggling, and he decided to become a Force ghost and guide Luke. So he let Vader strike him down. Luke saw this. He was angry. The dark side was swelling within him now. He strikes Sidious with all his anger and hate. Sidious was smiling, saying, "Good, my boy. Use your hatred. That's the only way that you can destroy me." And then Obi-Wan communicated with Luke. He was shocked, and Luke was kind of shocked because he didn't talk to Yoda or Obi-Wan before, but he knew that this was a Force ghost thing because Yoda told him. Both Obi-Wan and Yoda were there, and they guided Luke. And they told Luke, "You know what must be done." Luke understood, and they told him he had a sister. Luke smiled. He knew who it was. He had known for a while now, but no time to ponder on that now. He quickly destroyed the glass behind Sidious's chair. Vader and Sidious were holding on with all their might, and Luke was also holding on with his lightsaber. And then suddenly, when the ray shield window thing activated, Sidious said, "That was a stupid plan, boy, and now you must die." Luke was frightened, and he didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Sidious hit him with lightning, and Vader was there, too. And Vader couldn't bear watching his son die. And Luke reminded him that I'm your son, Father. Please help me. And then he said, what would my mother think about this?" Because Obi-Wan and Yoda told him about his mother. And Vader suddenly thought of Padme and thought about what she would have wanted him to do. And this is when Vader decided to change. He did the same thing in Episode 6, lifted Sidious and threw him down the reactor shaft. And this time, and everything would basically kind of be the same, except the Death Star wouldn't explode. And Vader would die because of the lightning that hit him. Luke thought he was gonna die, but he didn't die. And he escaped and met Princess Leia, and he told her everything. And told her that Sidious the Emperor, had been defeated, and Vader too, but they still had to explode the Death Star. So they sent out a few ships, and Luke was one of them, and they successfully blew it up. And that's it for today.